Welcome to another consumption test. Today we're going to be doing it with the base engine variant of the Kia EV3, a car that is quite popular and also an interesting car because it is quite well priced in my opinion. You get a very nice battery, you get a very good equipment. The battery that we have in here is going to be a 58.3 kilowatts an hour battery that we can actually use, and then you can also upgrade to a bigger one which is going to have 81.4 kilowatts an hour. The car, even though it looks fairly bulky, has a CV value of only 0.26 with a WLTP for our variant around 415 kilometers. However, we do have the 19-inch rims on here. You can choose between 17 or 19-inch rims, and those are going to add a little bit of kilowatts hour. And therefore the range is going to be a lot less with the 19-inch. Well, not a lot less, but we'll see what we get. We're going to be doing 4 different tests. 80 kilometers an hour behind the truck, 120, 140, and also top speed, which is 170 from this car. Let's also check out what tires we have on here, which are going to be Hankook Ion Evo tires, 215, 50, and 19-inch rims, which in my opinion do look fairly decent. Let's go right into the video and for the first test. And now welcome to the first drive, which is going to be 80 kilometers an hour behind the truck, as you can see right here, which is quite good right now because it is fairly busy. So 80 kilometers an hour is going to be the optimal one right now, because otherwise 140 would be very slow here. Let's talk about the inside a little bit of the car and what you kind of get for the price. So starting point is 35,990 euros, and we have it here in the lowest battery variant, like already mentioned, and therefore basically the consumption stuff like that you're going to see here is also going to be the same that you get when, for instance, getting the lowest engine variant, or the let's say the air variant. We have the earth variant here, which is going to be the second highest, and then you get the GT line. With that, you can choose a couple of things. For instance, on the outside you can get those 19-inch rims that you can get, which are going to increase the consumption a little bit. So I personally would also choose the 17-inch rims just to get some more fuel efficiency, not fuel efficiency, but range efficiency in here. But otherwise we get a very nice looking inside in my opinion. You get a cool looking dashboard here with also some ambient lighting in the inside, all of this, and that is also something I gotta quickly turn off because that is kind of the driver warning. Like if you're watching the road and stuff like that, you can turn that off. It's not going to beep when you look away, because that does get annoying quite quick and it does beep every single time. We have physical buttons for our air conditioning, which is quite nice. And it's also we have this little display here for our own climatization, like all the settings for it. And it's always kind of blocked by my steering wheel, so I have to go like this to actually look around it. That's why I like also having some physical buttons down here. And also your air vents are obviously physical with your volume knob in the center. I do kind of like that. Steering wheel is also going to be looking kind of futuristic. Drive modes on the bottom here. We have Eco, Normal. We're in Eco currently because we're doing our lowest test. Sport, Snow, and also My Drive, which is kind of your individual mode. And we do also have adaptive cruise control, which I've set up now to the lowest distance in front of us, which has lane centralization, blind spot assistance. We also have a lane change assistance, so it will automatically change the lane for you. You just have to hold your hand on the steering wheel. And for the first time in the new Kia models, the EV3 was the first car that got it, is the iPedal 3.0, which you can adjust obviously recuperation on the back here. It's kind of a similar function like you have on the Volkswagen ID models, where it kind of does regenerative braking considering the car in front of you, and also, okay, now he's gonna overtake. So basically adapts to the traffic and then it recuperates individually with that, which is quite nice. Otherwise, with the Earth variant that we have in here, and also these different kind of Napa leather on here that we have, which are going to be an extra option that you pick up. With that you also get like the business package and stuff like that. We get, for instance, this table in the center here, where you can put some stuff on there, but therefore you don't get any storage space in the center, which is a little bit unfortunate, but therefore a lot of space on the bottom. Inductive charging space, and also 2 cup holders here. We get heated seats and also heated steering wheel, so a lot of things that are going to be quite nice for the price here, around 43,100, no, actually 500 or 980 euros, something right around there, because we also have the Harman Kardon sound system in here, so another around 590 euros extra. Otherwise, surrounding view in here is actually also quite decent. We get a fairly small rear window, however, a little bit of a bigger blind spot, but otherwise in the front here you do feel like you just know the dimensions of the car straight away. When it comes to the sound isolation here, we're currently driving 90, also quite decent. The road here is going to be a little bit of a harsher one, so therefore lots of tire noise currently, or not lots, but it's just on the road. If you're driving on a smoother one, there's not going to be much road noise, but otherwise feeling quite comfortable in here and quite nice to drive. the right side, you're going to be able to charge the car with a max speed of 101 kilowatts an hour. The bigger one is going to be 128. We would recharge the car from around 18 up to 80%, and that took us a total of 26 minutes. Claimed is 29 minutes from 10 to 80%, so we're definitely in the range of what you'd expect. It took us a total of, like I said, 26 minutes. We charged a total of 36.81 kilowatts an hour. And we also were looking at a quite decent curve actually, with an average speed of 82.1 and the peak was 97.6 kilowatts. And then if you're looking at the curve, it goes up fairly quick, stays there, just drops a little bit and then keeps on dropping. And then at around 70, 75, it does go fairly far down. But in total, it's still a fairly decent loading curve for the car. And in 26 minutes, you're going to again be able to drive a good amount of distance. And now join me back here at 140. We are taking a different route now because this route is just a little bit, well, there's less traffic and we can get those top speeds, and also 140 is just going to be more reliable on this route than the other one. But nonetheless, we're still driving at 140, sometimes obviously going down a little bit further if somebody's overtaking because it's only a 2-lane road. Our cruise control is again set to 140. I've reset everything when it comes to the tripometer and stuff like that. Outside noise is still actually fairly decent. You will just notice a little bit of wind noise up on the top here, but because it's an EV, there is no engine roar or anything like that, and it's quite comfortable at those speeds to still talk with just increasing the volume of your speaking voice a little bit, but that's about it. The suspension also does a good job in here, feeling quite planted to the ground. There's really not much complaints. Also the smoothing out of the bumps and stuff like that is also quite well managed here. And one thing also, just like here, Hyundai typical, when you blink, for instance, if I'm blinking now, you can see you will always have that camera on the side. And we also have a lane assist in here, so lane change assist, so we'll also automatically change the lane, which is another nice feature for this car in this price point. Let's actually try it out here in a second. Once we go past this truck, I will have to not let my hands go off of the steering wheel, and now if I blink, hold it down, it is going to automatically change, and then when it's back in the center, it's going to stop blinking and basically continue driving, which is quite nice. But yeah, even at these speeds, quite decent here. But let's see what the range is with the smaller battery at the end. And let's get back to at top speed. And now back at our top speed run here. Let me quickly show you the kickdown in sport mode from 110. Top speed is 170. 130, 140, so it does accelerate quite quickly. We do have 204 horsepower in here with 283 Newton meters. 0 to 100 is going to be in around 7.6 seconds. If you get the smaller rims, you're going to be looking at 7.5 seconds, which is definitely not bad, considering you obviously get a car that is quite goodly well priced here and also has 204 horsepower. When it comes to the outside noise, also fairly nice. It's not too loud, only 170, so it's not going to be the fastest, but how many times are you going to be driving at those speeds with a smaller battery? That is the question that I'm going to ask you if you're obviously looking at the consumption of the top speed. Obviously, sometimes we do have to slow down here, accelerate again. That is going to increase the consumption. But when we're also doing our top speed test, obviously, as you can see right here, we will sometimes, well, most of the times, also be driving at top speed, which in this case currently is 174. So GPS, that tachometer is probably going to be around 170 then, or maybe a little bit less. The ride quality is still quite nice in here. Feels fairly planted to the ground again, and it actually gives you a good driving feel here. Obviously with an EV, you do have that 50-50 distribution most of the times and a good center of gravity, and therefore you are going to be looking at a fairly nice ride quality and a fairly nice sporty feeling to it. But yeah, it actually feels quite nice. We do obviously have our sport mode activated now as well, just to get the most, like, say, sporty setup that we can get for the top speed test. And there's really not much to complain about here, even at these speeds. It'll be quite interesting to see what the consumption is at these speeds. But even outside noise here, I don't think they're actually that bad. And now to probably the most interesting part of the video is where we look at all the numbers. So I have also calculated the numbers for the bigger sized battery, so the 78 kilowatts an hour net usage. We have 55, like we already mentioned a couple of times now. We're going to be first of all looking at the 100 kilometers an hour behind the truck. That's going to give us a total consumption of 12.6, or an average consumption of 12.6 kilowatts an hour with an average speed of 88.89 kilometers an hour. Total speed there would be 27 minutes. I always calculate my range of the total battery size and divided by obviously the consumption we had times 100. That means from a total of 100% down to 0% is the range that I'm going to tell you now, which is 437 kilometers. With a bigger battery, you'd be looking at 619 kilometers, so a little bit of an increase there, or quite a big one. So take into consideration if you definitely need that increase of range for the amount of money that you're going to be paying extra. The price there, I calculated with my 49 cents per kilowatts an hour consumption of ENBW medium plan, which is 49 cents. You can also get one where you're only going to be paying 39 cents, but you'd have to pay a higher monthly fee for that. That's going to be 6 euros and 17 cents. For the 120 kilometers an hour, we had an average consumption of 17.7 kilowatts an hour, with an average speed of exactly 120 kilometers an hour in a total time of 20 minutes. There, the range would be 311 kilometers, and the bigger one would be getting 441 kilometers, so 130 kilometers more, which is quite a lot. That would also cost you 8 euros and 67 cents. 140 kilometers an hour, we had an average consumption of 25.6 kilowatts an hour with an average speed of 133.3 with a total time of 18 minutes and also a total range then of 215 or 305 if you get the bigger one. Price there would be 12 euros and 54 cents. What you also notice if you have watched some previous videos, we have changed the range that we actually do down to 40 kilometers compared to that previous 88 kilometers. For two reasons. First of all, we don't have the time for every test now to be doing 70 minutes for one run, and then it's gonna take like a total of 4 hours. So now it's only 2 hours, which is a little bit nicer for us because we don't have that time. And also we have a different route now, so the nice thing is that the route is a little bit more open, and therefore we just get a bit better average speed, so you get a better sense of what the average consumption is actually at. Top speed 27.9 kilowatts an hour with an average speed of 141.2. Considering the car only has 170 kilometers an hour of top speed, that's actually a quite high average speed there. Total time 17 minutes and the total range 197, or with a bigger battery 280. And the cost is going to be 13 euros and 67 cents. What do you think of this car? What do you think of the EV3 in terms of its consumption? Let me know in the comments and let me know of any improvements you'd like to see in the future. Hopefully you did enjoy. Make sure you like, subscribe. That would mean a lot and allow us to just get more videos of these out in the future because we have access to more cars with more subscribers. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.